Good evening, parents and students of the class of 2026. I'm Mrs. Jeanette Alamia, Director of Counseling. And with me is one of the wonderful school counselors, Mr. Gilbert Spinato. And tonight we will share an overview of the college planning, college admissions, and college application process. We have a packed agenda. You should have found two items, two documents outside on the table. There is a PowerPoint presentation with notes that you can, area so you can write your notes. And then there's the grade 11 resource guide for you to also go back and discuss as a family all the items that we have discussed today. We will, as I said, we will have a dedicated time for you to come up with your questions. And we can also have some time if you have individual questions that you want to approach us with. So let's begin. So we are excited to welcome you tonight to our kickoff program, which is designed to help you and your students navigate the college planning process with ease. And from exploring college options to learning about important tasks and timelines, will provide you with valuable insights and resources to guide you through the important journey. I also want to mention that Mr. Monastero is here somewhere, but I just wanted to thank him for his support and for being here, supporting our class of 2026, soon to be grads. Before you know it, your students will be graduating, walking down the aisle with their caps and gowns and attending school in a few months. As a parent of a first-year college student, one piece of advice that I would share with you is to enjoy the journey. I know it's easier said than done, but remember, I did go through the process myself as a parent. And to my child, who's, like I said, a freshman or first-year student in college, I do not know anything about the college admissions process, and so he owned the process. So this process can be quite overwhelming, but by relying on each other and seeking support from your counselors here, you can navigate it with confidence. And so most importantly, encourage your child to take ownership of this journey. This is their story to tell, and it's a journey that will shape their future and become part of their personal legacy. So tonight's program will guide you through the key steps of the college planning process, including how to explore college options and find the right fit, understanding the components of the college application, and navigating its essential steps, tasks, and timelines. We'll also share valuable resources for both you and your student. While tonight's presentation is comprehensive, please know that this is just the beginning. You and your student will have many opportunities in the coming days, weeks, and months to reach out to your counselor with any questions. And we're here to support you every step of the way. And so we have the luxury of having counselors that are readily available whenever a student has a question with regards to whether it's course selection or extracurricular activities, and including this college planning process, that they can easily go into our counseling center and meet with the counselor. And so we welcome parents to also do the same by reaching out via phone or email. And so we are incredibly proud of our students who have gone on to attend highly competitive colleges and universities. Their dedication, hard work, and perseverance have led them to impressive achievements. And so here's a list of the class of 2024 graduates and the colleges and universities that are currently attending. Most of these universities have come and visit us. So all seniors, juniors, when you are seniors next year in the fall of 2025, you'll have an opportunity to have one-to-one conversations with our regional college representatives from a lot of these universities, and actually some of them, if not all, will be reading your application, because again, they're assigned to the region and to our school to assist with the process. So as part of our comprehensive college planning program, tonight's kickoff workshop is just the beginning, as I said. So in addition All grade 11 students will participate in 3 classroom sessions before their individual meetings with counselors and parents. These classroom presentations are conducted by the counselors. The first session was last Monday, the 25th, which focused on college exploration, finding the best fit, and college testing. Ask your child about the shoe they selected and why. It was part of a fun icebreaker to introduce the concept of finding their best fit. And in terms of finding their best fit of a university or a college. So next week will be session 2. So the counselors will dive into how colleges evaluate students and what they're looking for in a strong candidate. And so in January, session 3 will help students put all the pieces together, covering key aspects such as selecting a major, listing interests and extracurricular activities, developing a college list, and starting on their junior biography or junior bio. So counselors will also provide guidance on next steps in the college application process. Before scheduling a junior conference with the counselor, students are required to complete the junior biography. And so this important document, which will be shared in the 3rd session in January, helps counselors prepare thoroughly for the meeting, the individualized meeting, and craft a comprehensive letter of recommendation for each student. So it is imperative that the student makes sure that the junior biography is completed. So the junior biography consists of 2 parts, the student biography and the parent statement. That's also a very important piece. Many aspects of the junior biography align with the common application, which is the application that most of our students do complete and send out to their universities and institutions, making it a valuable preparation tool for future college applications. Students will receive their junior bio, as I said, during the 3rd classroom session in January, and the deadline for completion is March 7th. So the junior conference is a personalized meeting designed for students and parents to discuss the post-secondary planning or college application process, tailored specifically to your student. And so just wanted to emphasize that that is tailored and uniquely, the discussion is customized to your students' needs and goals. Not all students are planning to go to a specific school. Not all students are majoring in a specific major of study, and other students may want to opt to attend other institutions. We have 98% of our students do attend a 4-year university, and 1 to 2% of our students either take a gap year to pursue some volunteer and self-exploration opportunities, whether it's here or overseas. And then we have also students going to, either to a military or even similar to Naval Academy or Armed Forces Academy. So we do cater and we are equipped and ready to counsel your student, you and your student, regardless of your choice of post-secondary planning or path. And so during the junior conference meeting, the counselor will cover the following: college testing schedule, choosing a major, feedback from the completed junior biography. So there will be a conversation between the counselor, student, and parent about the content of that junior biography that was completed. Personal approach to selecting colleges, development of a college list. And so this conference is a valuable opportunity to create a focused plan that aligns with your students' goals and aspirations. So up next, Mr. Spinato will dive into the details of the college admissions process and applications, offering valuable insights to help you and your student navigate this next phase with clarity and readiness. Mr. Spinato?
So there are different types of ways to apply to a college or university. And this decision here, or the decisions I should say, come with time, research, talking as a family with their guidance counselor, and kind of making a good, educated decision of what best fits their desire to apply and the timing of that. Regular decision is pretty common. It's a clearly stated time in which an application is due, typically around January. That's regular decision timing. So some students opt to do that, and that's okay. It's their own decision to do so. Rolling admission would be kind of piecemealing it, where you can supply an application at different markers. So you could have your application submitted, for example, in October, submit a transcript in December, have your essay piecemealed in as well, maybe later on. And then after all the initial materials are completed and put together, the school will make a decision on your acceptance. So rolling admission typically means just a process that takes longer than just a simple entry date with a response back. So you're piecemealing it over time. And that's also very common as well. Early action is very common, especially at a competitive high school like Cold Spring Harbor, where students typically like to apply early. Applying early is advantageous for students because they may get a response earlier. They fit the criteria very well regarding GPA and SAT and ACT score, and feel a need to also dive into merit scholarship money as well, which is offered by an institution upon acceptance if deemed. You can apply to as many early action schools as you like. You can apply to as many regular decision schools as you like, and you can apply to as many rolling admission schools as you like. Early decision typically is one school that you apply to that I consider to be what's your favorite school, the school that you visited numerous times, walked the campus, ate the food, saw the dorms, meet the criteria for GPA, SAT score, and ACT score. You have the posters on the wall, the socks, the hoodie, the hat, all the gear. If that's your school, and you feel you have a good opportunity or a good shot to get into, then early decision would be another family decision where you're opted to apply to that school. If you get in, by virtue of contract, the student is responsible to attend. That is a binding agreement between the student and the institution to attend that school. It's a little challenging to back out of that decision. So we tread lightly with ED or early decision to make sure that decision is correct for the family and for the student. Talking with the counselor, again, the institution, and making sure that you qualify well for that area is cardinal. Restrictive early action is rare. I don't see it very often. However, there are institutions that say that if you apply early action to their school, you're probably not going to apply to any other school's early action. So it's kind of like an early decision without the agreement saying you have to go to the institution. So students can pick from this menu item right here, or items I should say, for what best suits their decision making. And again, this takes time. It takes research. It takes visiting, sleeping on it for days. Impulsivity because of the crowd or what other people are doing, I would say it's a good idea. Students should be applying to these institutions that they're going to apply to based on what's best for them. Undergraduate admissions. Colleges will prioritize these elements differently, but most schools are considering the following for admissions: courses taken and grades earned, grades in specific courses, course rigor, weighted and unweighted GPA, SAT and ACT scores, leadership qualities, community engagement, letters of recommendation, the college essay, demonstrated interest, and possibly, for some, an audition or an interview. Components of the application. So a high school transcript, we're going to look at that as well tonight. When looking at a transcript, there are many components: weighted GPA, the rigor, as I stated before, the complexity of the classes. Did you take a more challenging class schedule over time? Did your grades look as though they were being enhanced and moving up in an upward trend? Those are things that schools will look for. Letters of recommendation, typically 2 teachers and 1 counselor. A personal statement or an essay, activity resume, and of course, standardized testing. The personal statement and essay, it's good to have that written well in advance. And we'll talk about that. We're moving into classrooms. We're talking during our push-ins, which is coming up next week, where we're going to discuss the transcript, the recommendation, the personal statement, developing a resume if they haven't done so already, and standardized testing. All these components will be also offered individually, so a student can buy our office whenever they want and talk about these components, right? And also in the classroom, but also in the parent-student meeting, which we're going to have in the spring. The common application is the main component of the application process for most students. That's where they're going to spend the most amount of time filling out their information, their academic history, right? And also the personal essay. So how do colleges review transcripts? Courses taken, level of rigor, honors, AP, regular classes, courses taken, right, that you really desired, offer which is just offered, senior year courses and selections. What are you doing senior year? A lot of students tend to think that, hey, senior year, I might be done, kind of slow down and maybe put the brakes on. We actually encourage you to do the opposite. Because for some schools, that first report card, the second report card, the mid-year grade, which goes out in January, which is required, have to look good. And we like to see students challenge themselves and get good grades. I think it's really important. So senioritis is what some students like to call it, is a farce. We want you guys working hard, taking challenging classes, getting good grades, maximizing the potential, and letting colleges know that, hey, I can do this. And for some students, that first report card and second report card is the impetus for acceptance. So next year is a really critical year. Matter of fact, all years are critical years. A lot of times people think junior year is the most important year. I would say that 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade are all equally as important for the admissions process. I think senior year really is a culminating experience, and that lets colleges know that you can do the work. And having really shiny grades that prove that, I think, is vital. Your grades earned, right? So course grades versus your GPA. Your academic growth, your GPA over 3 years. 9th grade through 11th grade is that GPA. So for juniors, the window to earn or improve your grade point average closes essentially in June. However, we will have a final average after senior year that incorporates the first 3 years. So this year is really important. So earning really great report cards this year to enhance your grade point average is what we're striving for, which is mentioned in our classroom cushions. As well as last year when they were sophomores, we reiterated that point in the spring that coming into junior year, this year was a critical point for GPA enhancement, and to take the work seriously and to do well in their testing, because this year is a critical year. Mid-year grades are things that we offer, like I was just saying before, in January. So when they apply next year to a college, their first 2 report card grades essentially are averaged and then sent to the schools they've applied to, and it's a requirement. That's why we're saying for next year, work really hard and get good grades. After the 4th quarter of next year, when they're graduating in June, we'll then have a final transcript with the final GPA that's sent to the school they're actually going to attend. Trends, consistent with achievement, right? So over time, were you consistent in your core classes? Did you take them seriously? Do the grades represent your ability? They're looking for those things. Was it an upward trend? You could have had a rocky 9th grade and a great sophomore year, and another great junior year, and a phenomenal senior year. You could have had a great 9th grade or freshman year, maybe a rocky sophomore year, but you came roaring back junior year, right? Or maybe you had a great first 2 years, but your junior year was a little rough, but you came roaring back senior year. Those 2 report cards that you earned prove that. So for a lot of students, they say, well, what can I do? You know, I had a rough 9th grade. I say, let's fix it now. It's never too late to fix your grades, to improve, to work hard, and demonstrate that you are, prepared to go to college. It's never too late. We can always turn that around and work hard, and we can fasten stronger grades to your transcript. Also, do we increase the rigor and performance over time? Did you try to strive for an honors class? Did you try for an AP level course? Right, those things are important too. It's not for everyone. However, for competitive colleges, I'm sure a dozen of them right now, off the top of our heads, they're looking for that. Here's a sample transcript that's offered to an institution in the fall of their senior year. So Courses taken will be on the left by year, including grades earned in 8th grade. So for example, biology and algebra, right, that will be on there, could be Spanish. And then whatever classes you've taken in 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, your senior year, which at the very end will have no credit bearing or grades, obviously, just a list of the courses that they're going to take. They're looking at that. And then they may even give a phone call or an email to the student or to myself next November, asking just to see a first quarter report card, way in advance of even a mid-year report in January. To the right, the grades earned, obviously, right, A's and B's, so on and so forth. And then to the right of that, credit bearing results. We can also put down their Regents grades, which is there in that box right over there. So for example, biology, physics, chemistry, they're all going to be listed right there under reading exam scores. And below that, in the comments, National Honor Society, AP Scholar, and of course, Honor Society for Foreign Language. Those will be incorporated on that transcript. And at the very end, you have the weighted and unweighted GPAs, which are calculated, and I've seen that done on the computer, by the way. It's extremely accurate. This is also in the student handbook. There is a GPA you can reference and look at to see if you can try to figure out the pointage to gain your GPA. I've done it by hand, but I've done it by computer. Both are accurate. Letters of recommendation. We always say, I'll start with the teachers first, and I'll do the council part next. For 2 teachers that you know really, really well, it's important that around the spring, I'd say March or April, maybe even earlier if you feel comfortable, approaching 2 teachers in a core subject matter that you know well. And we want our students to find people they're comfortable with, that understand who they are, that can write to their setbacks, right, the endeavors that they've made, their participation in the classroom, of course their grades, their level of interest, outside work they've done for that class, any research or reading they do on the side, and how they bring that class to a new level. So 2 teachers that they know well and comfortable with, we want to walk up, literally snowplow to the front of the room, and make that statement, hey, Mr. So-and-so, Mrs. So-and-so, we really love your class. I feel engaged. This is the stuff that I want to do when I'm in college, and I've known you for this year so far, and I really love this class that you're doing really well. Would you be able to write a letter of recommendation? It's up to the student to make that contact. It's up to the student to use that teacher as a resource. It is on them in this process, from the beginning to end. Research, the application process, the essay, knowing when to apply, the SAT and ACT portions, and of course, letter of recommendation, right, earning grades their senior year. That's all on the student. So, what's their response in the classroom? That's what the teacher's going to write about for that student. Teachers don't write bad letters of recommendation. They're here to help and support and make sure the student has their best chance to make that school that they want to go to. No one's going to write anything bad about a student. The counsel letter is more of a roundabout kind of letter, informing the counselor, the admissions counselor, and the committee that's going to review the student about maybe specific challenges or their sports, the things they've done on the outside. They work close with Harvard Lab. They're in the community. They volunteer. We write to those things. We kind of put more sprinkles on the cone, for lack of a better metaphor. We'll have an opportunity to have a conversation on the letter of recommendation also. So the counselors can always take a student and sit down with them for a period, just kind of go over and hash out maybe their resume, and talk about what they've done over the last few years, and how they want us to help address that. The junior bio that they're going to fill out, which is required to have a meeting with us in the spring, kind of helps with that process. We'll read through it, get a sense of what they've done, and then try to maybe bring them back in for another conversation to enhance that. And we can enhance that letter up until the time we have to submit it. So if things happen over the summer of this junior year, like this summer you're going to be just like going to senior year, if you got this great internship, you went on like an amazing adventure with your family, you were working on a community organization project and it really took off, you started your own hedge fund, whatever that is, we can make sure we can write that in the letter of recommendation for you in September. With a quick email, a quick write-up, or just a conversation with me and the counselor in the office, we can definitely fine-tune that letter before it goes out. The college essay. I guess, show, don't tell. That's the old adage. Start early and revise it, be authentic, write what you feel, right? On the Common Application itself, there are going to be 6 choices for a student to pick from to write about. It's probably really arduous, but I think the best way to handle this is honestly to take each question that you have and write out a few sentences per question, and then take those questions that you wrote a few sentences for, and then write a paragraph on top of those sentences. Then go back and do another paragraph for all 6 again, and then a conclusion. See how each one is kind of being developed. It's a lot of work, but you're giving every essay opportunity on the application a chance to be written, because you don't know what's going to happen as you're writing it. The one essay that seemed like it was the hardest, the one you didn't want to choose, they asked you the best one for you. And the one they thought was really easy, you could do it in 5 minutes, was the worst one. So I think taking your time, preferably in the spring towards the summer, start taking a look at the application, because you can. You can register for the Common App if you like, and we'll just supply the students with those questions. In the summertime, that writing process can actually be really helpful. And getting a good jump start on there and getting it done will help with editing, reviewing it. In addition, students will be writing their essays with most of their teachers in the fall in their English class. So they're going to have further editing and supplying information to them on how to write a good essay. But I think the process really starts by looking at it on their own, and then writing out these essays one by one, and then choosing which one is best for them. And then reworking that essay until it's perfect, and then having someone edit it for you. We can do that. The counselors are more than welcome to, more than obliged, honestly, to work on an essay. It's a privilege, honestly. So if they feel like they want to come by and talk about their essay, we can work that out. So, practical thought. If the essay is a little challenging to write about or uncomfortable, a little slightly embarrassing, probably a good essay. If it's really easy and you're kind of writing superficial, surface stuff, it kind of shows. An essay should have some depth, some emotion, maybe teeter away from making sarcastic jokes that kind of go over the ambitious counselor's head. I wouldn't recommend things that are funny for us in our brain and we share with our friends might be different on how someone's reading it. Right? So if you're not sure how the essay is developing and you want some feedback on it, if it's appropriate or not, if the topic is showing depth, you can always ask the counselor. Resume. It's really important that students track all their hours, obviously, their clubs, their sports, community activities, their events. If you're in robotics, for example, you're on the track team, you work with your parents in a volunteer organization. You work with your family on the side, you have a business. To track those things on some kind of document. Now, we're going to talk about Naviance in a little while, but in Naviance, which is a platform for students to research colleges and things like that, there is a resume builder on there. And it's actually adaptable, and you can place it into the Common Application next fall. So the schools that they're applying to will actually get to see the things they've done in a more of a resume fashion style. So exploring interests, right? Developing talents, dedicate time to a cause, develop leadership skills, follow a passion, clubs, athletics, community, service, family, responsibilities, work, music, the arts, research, summer. These are all things that we think are important that can be done. If students feel that they haven't done enough, or that it's a little thin on the activity resume list, there's more than time to do that. There are clubs being offered every day here in the school, and also in the community. So outreach is important. If you want to talk more too, again, guidance counselors are here. We can talk about getting more involved, which I think is important.
And so, just to go back to my intro, as you can see, colleges do review. They conduct what is called a holistic review. And so they are not just paying attention, of course, to the rigor of classes that students are taking and the GPA and the performance. However, they're also looking at what kind of human being is your student. You know, what kind of a roommate will you be? What kind of what can you contribute to the college that you're heading? And so colleges, as I am in my close to 20 years working in the high school, post-secondary planning and school counseling field and working with college representatives, you can have the perfect SAT or ACT, you know, and glowing grades, but if you're not showing who you are through that essay or through that activities resume, or you don't have an edge that separates you from the rest, then it's a struggle. And so colleges really want to make sure that, you know, they see the numbers, they see the weighted GPA, but they want to see the human behind that person. Think about if you are not involved in extracurricular activity that you're passionate about. Think about what is it that you like, what you're passionate about, and it could be, you know, serving a neighboring community with regards to, you know, a food pantry. It could be as simple as that. Your local, like your place of worship, whether it's temple or a church, volunteer, just giving, and just not only would that show as, oh yeah, you're a humanitarian, but also it actually contributes to your development as humans, as you are growing as young adults. And I'm speaking to the students, of course. So next, I hear that this is a very hot topic because I've spoken to some of your this class's parents, is college testing. And so we definitely, every year, it seems like there is an ever-changing, ever-evolving process when it comes to SAT, ACT, AP exams, etc. So beginning this school year, many colleges and universities have reinstated their original testing policies, now requiring standardized test scores as part of their admissions criteria. In October, our juniors took the PSAT, giving them a glimpse of the digital SAT format. And so students are encouraged to take the SAT and ACT during the winter and spring months of right now, their junior year. And if needed, retake the exams in the fall before their early action or early decision deadlines. You want to make sure to pay attention to those deadlines because, as you probably are familiar, a lot of the schools in the South have an early action or early decision deadline of October 15th. So you want to make sure that if you're retaking SAT or ACT, once again, that you are taking it well before that October 15th deadline. Mr. Spinato touched upon the early action, early decision. The majority of these deadlines are November 1st and some November 15th. And so you also want to pay attention to those. And those can be, the deadlines can be identified when you go into Naviance or, of course, the college's website. So here are the links to the College Board and SAT, ACT websites for your reference, and also their hyperlinks. So when we post the PowerPoint presentation on the website, you can always go straight to those, click on the hyperlink, and it will guide you to those websites. So starting in April of 2025, if you have not heard already, the ACT will introduce several enhancements. So students will have the option to take the exam either on paper or online format. So the online version of the ACT starting in April, and with the paper and pencil format will be in September, will be shorter. So I think they're trying to copy you-know-who because, you know, obviously it's a competition, and so it's going to be ACT is typically, without the writing, about 2 hours and 55 minutes, so it's going to scale down to another 20 or 30 minutes. It will be shorter. The other enhancement would be that students have the option to opt out of the science section. However, this is not recommended for students planning to pursue a STEM major. So if you are majoring in a field of science, technology, engineering, or math, then we definitely highly encourage you to take the science section of the ACT. To help students prepare, there will be 2 free virtual practice tests. One will start this Saturday, December 7th, and we have QR codes. We will have QR codes in, we'll post those on the website. I believe Ms. Harold, our wellness counselor, sent a message through Canvas about the virtual practice exams. They're free, and the Princeton Review is running them. If you are questioning which exam you should actually take, whether it's the SAT or ACT, one advice would be to take the practice test and just see how it feels. At this time, if you're taking the ACT paper and pencil, it would be a bit longer than the SAT, which is 2 hours and 14 minutes. And so just bear in mind that if you choose to take the paper and pencil, it will be longer, the traditional exam format, and if it's online, then it would be a shorter exam. So you may be wondering about test optional colleges, and yes, they still exist, and we have over 2,000 schools have adopted a test optional policy, and some are even test blind, meaning they do not consider test scores at all, so they don't even want those scores. So if you are interested in learning more about these institutions and their testing policy, whether they're test optional, test blind, or test free, you can visit fairtest.org. And once again, that's a hyperlink. Once that's posted and shared with you, you can navigate and click on it. However, just so you know that a lot of our Ivy League schools and highly competitive schools mainly adopted to their traditional requiring test scores to be submitted. So they will share that, and that's something that you should always ask when you meet with a representative, either when you go to a campus to visit, or you attend a college fair, or when you actually meet with the college reps when they come and visit us in the fall. By then, we would imagine that you, for the most part, know the colleges that you're applying and their testing policy. So that's very important that you're aware of that sooner rather than later. So by now, as I mentioned, you have experienced, most of you have taken the PSAT, and so you probably received my email a couple of weeks ago. PSAT scores were released, and they should be accessible through the student's College Board account. So these scores will be uploaded to Naviance. We're having a bit of a technical difficulty with Naviance at this moment. And so once those scores are loaded into Naviance, you'll also see your personalized PSAT scores. And this is important because Mr. Spinato is going to talk about a feature called scattergram, in which your PSAT scores are accounted for when it comes to what are your chances of getting accepted or getting an acceptance from a specific school that you're researching. Below is a breakdown of the scores by exam and to help you understand your students' performance and next steps. But once students, you go into your College Board account to view your scores, there is a score report. If you have any questions about what the scores mean and what does that mean at all, please come and speak to your school counselor. Just so you know, we do have an upcoming event. If you can save the date, it will be in person here on January 13th, which is around the corner, and we'll have a presenter to talk about anything and everything you need to know about the SAT and ACT and test prep options. So many colleges and universities accept both the SAT and ACT as part of their admissions process. Through a growing number of schools have adopted, test optional, as I mentioned, and policies. For more information about the exam and how to register, you definitely need to click on the SAT and ACT websites and their respective hyperlinks. So once again, we want to make sure that this presentation will go out to you sooner rather than later so that you can have all of these resources at your disposal. Here are the dates with registration deadlines. You can always refer back to the PowerPoint. And here's the test, the free test prep practice exam for the SAT and ACT. Those you should have, I believe, I hope that you can scan the QR code and register. So registration is required to participate. Students, you will be taking this as soon as like December 7th. You can always take it either this Saturday or in a few weeks, and you can take this practice test at the comfort of your home. So these practice tests, obviously, as you can see, are provided by the Princeton Review. And while the tests are free, it's entirely up to you whether you wish to explore or pursue their additional test prep services, which are fee-based. Additionally, has anyone ever heard of method learning before? Okay, so method learning, which is a locally owned Long Island test prep company, offers also free SAT and ACT test prep through their product called Methodize, and it can be accessible through the student's Castle Learning account. Castle Learning account. So you would be able to look at different diagnostic tools. You'll be able to do full practice exams. You will do vocabulary builder. And it will tell you by taking the free practice test, it would tell you the correct answer and why that answer was correct. So you'll be able to take the free practice test again through Methodize by logging into your Castle Learning account, and there's ACT as well as SAT. And that's a service that the district already has funded, and again is dedicated, is specifically and unique for Cold Spring Harbor High School students. So here's a closer look at Methodize. So once you go in, you'll be able to explore. So the program provides a comprehensive suite of tools, including prep courses, full-length practice tests, evaluations, tests, various resources, and a vocabulary builder to help students strengthen their test-taking skills and boost their confidence for the SAT and ACT. And so if you have any questions, please contact your counselor with any questions. Mr. Spinato will now talk about another component of the college application, which is demonstrated interest. And he will also talk about the web-based tool platform called Naviance. I think it's called Naviance. We keep saying Naviance for years, but it's Naviance. Mr. Spinato?
So demonstrated interest really allows students to connect with the school through Naviance. You can do that through email, through conversations, through interviews, through touring. There's a lot of ways that a student can connect with the university or a college to create demonstrated interest. I spoke with a rep back in October about demonstrated interest, and I said, how are you tracking? What specifically are you doing that lets you know a student is interested? And I thought it was a really good conversation. She had mentioned to me that, if you look at an email from the school and you click on it and you open it, they can tell you've read it. If you have a question about a program when you were on a tour and you mention the tour guide's name and ask a follow-up question based on the tour to admissions, they know that you emailed them if you're looking for a connection. If you call admissions and ask to talk to a counselor about the school, about a program, about activities, they like that and they keep track of that, literally writing it down. So they're definitely keeping tabs on how students reach out to them and kind of share their level of interest. So demonstrated interest really means, have you visited the college? Do you interact with the rep? Have you visited the college office, which we have? Excuse me. where we have weekly, daily, honestly, reps coming in. If next year a school decides to visit out, Coastal Harbor, and we have a 40-minute conversation about, for example, Notre Dame, or Towson, or Maryland, and that student has an interest, it's suggested they sign up through Naviance and attend that meeting. There, the person who actually reads their application, their essay, letters of recommendation, will be right in front of that student making a connection. That's demonstrated interest. So going on a tour, meeting a rep next year, emailing, reading emails, making a phone call, that's part of the deal with demonstrated interest, and students have to do that. It's important. It is a part of the application process. So Ms. Alameda just stated the holistic perspective. Yes, grades and SAT score and activities, but also demonstrated interest, which is tracked. Naviance is a web-based platform that we have, that students have had access to since ninth grade, essentially. We were doing career inventories with them, intelligences, and kind of figuring out, in sophomore year, for example, what's a great career idea? We had a whole discussion on careers with Naviance. They took a personality inventory also. And together, those results, which a student can access and retake whenever they want in this platform, allows them to do really good research for college also. That research allows them to make a decision, am I going early action, am I going early decision? Those are the two most common things that students talk about, the EA and the ED thing. It's the most talked about. I think I must have had 1 million conversations this year on early action and early decision. Do I go November 1st, or do I lock into one school November 1st, or apply to plenty of schools November 1st? The conversations were endless, but I think through conversation and the use of this platform, a decision is going to be made. And then you recognize with maturity that these students have really held on to their decision, and they make a really strong decision, and they're happy with it. So I think a lot of that anxiety, that thought process, the spinning, figuring out where they're going to be and how they're going to apply, through conversation with their counselor and research and visiting, kind of helps it out. So the more that they're in tune and more they show an interest in the research piece, in conversation with their counselor and family, the easier the EA and ED decision will be made. So what does Naviance do? We did careers last year in 10th grade, exploring interests, which is part of that whole personality inventory, exploring colleges, which we'll talk about in a little bit, comparing data for colleges, scholarship information, and managing the application material. The material piece through Naviance is, it seems from a perspective of a new student looking at this stuff, it's kind of challenging, but once they do it with us in the class, when we demo that, talk about it, they come into our office and we show them, it's actually pretty easy. I think what trips them up is the fact that they have so many things to worry about. Classes, friends, sports, activities, the essay, the application itself. It seems kind of overwhelming. Again, we'll guide them through every step of the way, and they'll be okay. In Naviance, when the student logs into their account, they can start doing research. So for example, here with Bucknell, if a student's interested, they can actually do a simple search, just type in the word Bucknell. It'll give them all the information they need for that school. And in that, it gives you kind of a roundabout accepted average for students. Now, when I was saying early action, early decision, and merit scholarship money, enrolling, and regular, this is where students start to extrapolate this graph and sort of recognize how they plug into those dates, what's best for them based on the data they're receiving. There's also other platforms, but this is probably the most comprehensive one. I've been using this for years. It seems to be the most accurate as well. However, nothing beats accuracy more than calling a college and asking what their acceptance rate is on the phone, or emailing that question, because it shows demonstrated interest, right? Making that connection with the counselor as well, because they take your name down. Who am I talking to? Okay, great, thanks. Those are all things that lead into demonstrated interest, but your own research may lead you into a conversation that's tied to demonstrated interest. So if you're not sure about a scattergram or a graph or understanding how to read this, the student can come into our office, sit down, we'll talk. I made dozens of phone calls to institutions this year to ask what their acceptance rates are, trying to decipher early actionable decisions right for that student. So So we'll make those phone calls. I'll pick up the phone, literally call Miami. I'll call Notre Dame, right? I'll call UNC. I've called Georgetown. We'll make those phone calls to get the information to that student. Put them on speaker, have a conversation right in my office, and I encourage students, if they're at home, to do the same with their family also. You can do that. When looking at this chart, the little person right there represents their GPA and their SAT and ACT score. The little person will populate for the student once the SAT score is submitted, which they can do. Our secretary, Mrs. Mazapesa, is really good at doing that. She'll take the student's information and then go into Naviance for them, put in their SAT or ACT score, and then populate that little person. Or if they've taken it multiple times as well, and they have an updated score, we can always go to Naviance and update that score for them. That way, when you're doing the research, it's accurate. This is where students love in class. When we go into the push-ins next week, we start hitting the scattergrams. When we play the scattergram game, it's like we start throwing out colleges all day. Let me see Harvard, let me see Princeton, let me see Stanford. We just play like the scariest looking charts, and they're like, they just ooh and ah the whole time. It's a lot of fun, actually. You'll have fun at home as well playing that game, just to see what it takes to get into these schools. But you know, a scattergram, when you log in, it'll allow you to see the accurate GPA of the student and their SAT and ACT score, or whichever one they want to use. The green boxes we're in, red we're not, and then waitlisted, deferred, those are the purple little box with the X's inside. So when students looking at this chart, this is kind of how they figure out where and how they're going to apply to the school, essentially. If they're towards the top right of the X and Y axis, and it's a lot of green, they're in good shape, right? So if that's their early decision school, and they match up pretty well, and they're comfortable with that school, that was the decision they wanted to make. If November 1st comes around to go ED to a particular school, the data would prove that that might be a good fit. If they're not sure about that, they can always talk to us and then call the school as well. We'll give them the most up-to-date information and help them with that decision process. Now, if the person's trending below the X and Y axis in the red box, and they're seeing that, hey, I'm a little short here, it's going to be a reach school, right? So target, safety, and reach is what we get from looking at this graph. So a target school would be like the X and Y converge. We're just above the X and Y axis in the top right corner. They're in the green. They're in good shape. I'd say that's a target school. If they're way above, right, which is green, almost on the outlier of the X and Y axis, probably going to be a good bet that that's going to be a safe school for them. But, likely to get in. Let me just, with an asterisk right here, say that nothing is guaranteed. I cannot guarantee a school. No chart can guarantee a school. No one knows what the admissions representative is going to think or say. That's entirely for that committee behind closed doors to make that decision. We're just going to get the best information we can, make the best decision for the student that's best for them and the family, and go forward with that decision. A reach school would be a school where it might be challenging to get into, right? That might not be the school that we're going to go early decision to, because it's going to be challenging to get into. And that's represented by the red boxes below the X and Y axis. So a student will look at those three trends and kind of figure out from GPA that they have, GPA requirement, SAT score, and how they kind of play out on that X and Y axis. And they'll make that decision. That's the best way to do it. And again, if they're not sure, they can ask us, or they can call the school. And I can do that for them. Again, I can call schools based on this chart to help students make that decision. Parents have called as well. Conversation is always open. Here's just a more closer look at Binghamton's scattergram. So you can see 3.50 or better tends to help out with Binghamton. An SAT score probably about 1350, 1360-ish. And that's from a phone call that I had for a student this year. Kind of helps out a lot. The student is represented to the little person on the top right. That person is in good shape. Again, not guaranteed, but they're a person who would probably be, likely to be accepted. Person on the very left, bottom left, 1,000, 1,100, 100 with a 2.5 or 2.0 would find that school to be challenging to get into. Binghamton is a very challenging school to get into.
So everyone by now should have access to Naviance. Students, you've already had, I've been on the behind the scenes looking at who's logged in and who's active. And so I encourage students to go into Naviance and utilizing the platform to drive your discussions across the kitchen table and across with your counselor in their offices. So definitely Naviance is a cool tool. And there's another feature that I think Mr. Spinato mentioned, that it's a great way of communicating and sending email blasts when colleges are visiting, any scholarship opportunities, so anything that is worth giving you information to empower you with that information, we'll send it through Naviance. Okay. So I hope everyone is hanging in there. I know that this is a lot of information, but rest assured this information will be reiterated in the classroom presentations as well as the official junior conference with the counselor. I'm not going to go over every single detail here because, again, you have it in front of you, but here is the grade 11 timeline, which includes a list of important tasks your students should complete and also events that you should attend. One thing that I forgot to mention is that the Princeton Review's editor-in-chief, Mr. Rob Franick, will be visiting us in March. He couldn't come earlier because of medical, he had to address a medical situation. However, he will be with us here in person. He's been on CNN, various types of, he's pretty popular. He goes around different school districts to talk to students and families about how to select the best fit college for your student. And so it's a very interesting conversation. He's very insightful. He's been doing this for many, many years. And so I will send out a notification, but the date is March, where is it? Somewhere. Oh, there it is, March 24th. And again, two items that I need to bring up. So as you know, that the councils will be pushing into the classrooms for the second time next week and for the third time in January. And then January 13th, the SAT, ACT, All You Need to Know workshop here on the 13th at 7 p.m. by the Princeton Review. And then, of course, in February, and we will send, I believe I already sent that the communication in the Guidance Light newsletter. I will definitely encourage you to go to the Counseling Center's website, go under newsletter, and read thoroughly the newsletter because it discusses the course selection, course planning process, which is coming up soon. Junior conferences with counselors will be starting in March, but remember that junior biography, which will be handed out during the third session in January, the classroom sessions, is due to the Counseling Center March 7th. Okay. We also advise and encourage you to visit schools during February break. I remember visiting different colleges with my son. Went to Massachusetts, saw MIT, saw BC, BU. He's now in Stevens. So we, of course, selected February to visit the colleges because he wanted to make sure that he can bear the weather. And so he's around the corner, he's in Hoboken, so it's the same weather as here, so he's okay. But it's important to go and visit, not only as a demonstrated interest, but also for you students to have that aha moment and feel the campus. Go and have lunch in the dining hall, interact with people. If it's a program, if it's a structured program where you're invited and breakfast and lunch is served, hear from students, hear from professors. You get to go by your major of study and go into a smaller, more intimate breakout session. And so that's an opportunity to, again, you're registering for that program to demonstrate interest, but also it helps you streamline your college list. So when it comes to the breaks that are coming up, I know that we all want to escape, the cold, and we want to go to a nice warm, part of this country or outside the country. I would definitely advise you to go and visit those schools. One thing about demonstrated interest, and it was pointed out on the PowerPoint presentation, is that when you receive emails and you're interested in that school, open it, because they can tell when you actually open the email correspondence. So, and also read it and be genuine about it and ask questions. So that's a little bit of advice as well, coming from someone as a not only professional in the field, but also as a parent going through all of this, and just like you will be going through soon. Also, when taking, during May and June, we advise students to consider retaking the SAT and ACT. In the summer, continue visiting colleges. Also, I would advise you to start, like Mr. Spinato said, the essay, selecting a topic, perhaps start writing a little bit per prompt. The Common Application is available now for students that are going to attend college in the fall of 2025. However, the new Common App for the class of 2026, you guys, will be open August 1st of 2025. So just make sure that you are going in, you're looking at the prompts. The Common App at the last minute might say, hey, we changed the essay prompts, we added one or we tweaked one. So just pay attention to those prompts and go with what you are passionate about. One thing that the college counselors and college representatives have shared is that they know when the student did not write the essay. They just know. And so a lot of times we have students gathering and we're getting information, feedback from various resources, but we just want you, the student, to actually write and express yourself and write that essay, which is your story to tell. This is a 12th grade timeline, so we are giving you ample notification as to what are the most salient and important tasks and events. And then here's a summary of the key stakeholders, that's us, right, that are involved in the college application process and our roles and responsibilities. Please remember that I know there's a lot of information, but we are in this together. I know it sounds cliche-ish, but we have, the counselors have years of experience guiding students through this journey, and you can be confident that your student is in good hands. So whatever questions you have, definitely reach out to your counselor, and students stop by. The Counseling Center role is to provide valuable information, hence tonight, and classroom presentations, and individual junior meetings, etc. Resources, a thorough explanation of the process. Counselors also give you individualized feedback and advice, and of course we will send your students official documents to the colleges and universities to which they have applied. The protagonist of this story is the student, right? That's the main character. And the student is responsible for completing the junior bio, filling out the college applications, writing the essay, sending official SAT and ACT scores, requesting letters of recommendation from teachers, engaging with college representatives at fairs and during the fall college visits, maintaining their grades, and confirming that all materials have been received by the colleges. The parent's role is to provide direction and support, help the student stay accountable, set boundaries, and complete the parent's statement. Lastly, the colleges themselves will notify the students of their admission decision, answer any questions, and educate students about their respective schools, upcoming programs, whether they have a co-op, internship opportunities, study abroad, etc. The colleges are definitely a main resource of, of who they are and what they offer. So any student athletes here? Okay, so we'll just go over this, but I know that there's a lot of, we have a lot of students that go on to Division I and Division II universities and colleges. So for student athletes, it is important to know that in order to play their sport in a Division I and II college or university, a student must be NCAA cleared. So the NCAA has specific academic requirements. We have a service called College Core Course GPA, which is free, and it helps you track your students' NCAA GPA, which is not the same as the Cold Spring Harbor GPA. So the NCAA has specific guidelines when it comes to a student's GPA and their entry into playing a Division I or II sport. Let's see here. So, and so the core course GPA, in the resource guide, you'll see some credentials and information on how to log in. And, you know, definitely please refer to that resource guide as well. Just so you know, the NCAA no longer require an SAT or SAT scores, ACT or ACT scores. Additionally, it is recommended that you and the student understand the recruiting process for your sport. So lacrosse is different than football, than soccer, etc. So each sport has its own process and steps. Talk to your coaches and counselor for advice and guidance on going through the recruiting and NCAA eligibility process. Students intending to play will need to create an account and register with the NCAA by June 30th of their junior year, meaning this coming year, 2025. And so we've covered a lot of information this evening, and by the way, we are for the first time recording this presentation. We will share out in case if you need to refer back to the discussion. And we hope that you found the information helpful. At this time, I'll open the floor for any questions you may have. I will repeat your question as it will be, again, recorded, and we will do our best to respond and give you a great answer. Yes?
So is the parent portal for Naviance available to us yet? And is it linked to the student's Naviance account so we can see the accurate scattergrams, or is it a generalized Naviance parent portal?
The question is the parent account in Naviance active, and can parents access to the Naviance accounts? And the answer is yes. What you need to do is you need to reach out to our amazing office assistant, Ms. Pisa, at 631-367-6840, and find out what your dedicated code is so that you can log in and work with your student. Sorry, 631-367-6840, and is Miss Apisa. And if you forgot the name, then you can just, inquire, and we will definitely help you out. Great question. Any other questions? Yes.
Can those diagrams that you showed on Naviance be customized to the particular school and university that you're applying to?
Can the Naviance scattergram be customized based on the universities and colleges that you're interested in applying to? The answer is yes. The data that you saw is based on our own students, Cold Spring Harbor High School graduates. As you can see in the demo, it was students that graduated from a class of 2018 to 2024. And so you can play around with it. You can just solely do data based on ACT versus SAT scores. And you can just, like Mr. Spinato said, type in the name. There's a search bar, and type in the name of the university, and you will see the scattergram. Some schools will have more data than others because historically speaking, and that this happens to, I think, mainly all Long Island high schools, students do apply to, like the Bucknells and the other schools. So you will have more data based on the applicants, the number of applicants. So hopefully that answered your question.
When I graduate, say you're applying to school like you showed the imprint.
Yes.
For
Oh, within the university? So can Naviance demonstrate specific schools within a university and acceptances? And the answer is not yet. No, unfortunately. However, you can definitely obtain that information through directly with the university. And they will tell you about not only their acceptance rate, but their retention rate, which is also a great indicator of what type of university or institution is. In the back, I think there was a question. Yes.
So the test this weekend, you said there is a digital ACT. Is that like of the same version that they're going to be putting out in April?
Great question. So the question is, will the ACT practice test that is being offered by the Princeton Review this Saturday is emulating or the same as the newly enhanced online ACT exam? And the answer is no. This would be a free practice test to simulate the paper and pencil, only because the ACT has not applied and has not revealed all of the structure and the questions, and the ACT is telling us that we will find out as educators and in turn as parents and students early December. So once, and again, the new enhanced or different, platform will be in April. I think that this will not be readily available at any time soon, at least not for this Saturday. Thank you, that's a good question. Any other questions? Okay, great. Well, we'll be here for a few minutes if you have any specific questions. Thank you so much for coming, and you're a great audience. Good luck, and again, we're here for you. Take care. Have a great night. Happy holidays.